Brandon Swanson wasn't the kind of person to simply vanish. At 19 years old, he was a responsible, thoughtful college student with a close relationship with his family. On May 14, 2008, after celebrating the end of his semester with friends, Brandon set off in his green Chevy Lumina to drive home to Marshall, Minnesota. It should have been a short, uneventful drive across familiar rural roads. Around 1:54 a.m., Brandon called his parents. His car was stuck in a ditch, but he was unharmed. He sounded calm, even lightly joking about his situation. He told them not to worry. He would walk toward the lights of a nearby town. His parents, Brian and Annette, stayed on the phone, driving toward where they thought he was. For nearly 47 minutes, Brandon described his surroundings. He talked about gravel roads, distant lights, and faint sounds. But then, suddenly, Brandon cried out, a sharp, panicked exclamation. The call went dead. He was never seen or heard from again. Brandon had spent the evening visiting friends in Lind, a small rural town southwest of Marshall. After leaving, he mistakenly believed he was near Lind when he was actually closer to Taunton, 20 miles away. Darkness, flat farmland, and a network of identical gravel roads made navigation confusing even for locals. After his car became stuck, Brandon called friends first, then his parents. He mentioned seeing lights in the distance and started walking toward them. Meanwhile, his parents drove around, flashing headlights and honking, hoping he would spot them. But Brandon never did. The conversation stayed steady, even casual at times, as Brandon updated his parents on his walk. He described gravel crunching under his feet, wire fences lining the road, and occasional sounds in the dark. Everything seemed manageable, until the final seconds. Brandon shouted abruptly, and the line disconnected. Repeated attempts to call him back failed. The disconnect was sudden and chilling. Something had gone terribly wrong. At first light, the search for Brandon began. His car was located stuck off Lincoln County Road 6, near Taunton, not Lind. The car showed no damage, no signs of foul play, no broken glass, nothing to suggest a violent struggle. Bloodhounds picked up Brandon's scent leading away from the car. The trail crossed gravel roads, fields, and fences, consistent with Brandon's phone description. The dogs tracked him to the Yellow Medicine River, where the scent was lost. Divers entered the river multiple times, combing the muddy bottom. Search teams spread across hundreds of acres, moving through tall grass, abandoned structures, and isolated farm fields. Helicopters buzzed overhead, scanning for any trace from above. Volunteers from surrounding towns joined in, walking shoulder to shoulder across open fields. Despite all efforts, not a single item of Brandon's, no shoe, no wallet, no phone, was recovered. The vastness of rural Minnesota worked against the search. Endless ditches, farm machinery, and abandoned wells complicated every step. Cell tower pings revealed Brandon had been farther west than originally believed, supporting the idea that even he was disoriented about his location. The sense of mystery deepened. It was as if Brandon had been swallowed by the night itself. Theories surrounding Brandon's disappearance have evolved over the years. Accidental death. The most straightforward explanation is that Brandon fell into the Yellow Medicine River or a nearby drainage area and drowned. But intensive searches of the river turned up no remains. Bodies usually surface, yet nothing of Brandon's ever did. Hypothermia. Given the temperature that night, exposure was a real danger. Without proper clothing, a disoriented person could easily become confused and wander aimlessly, succumbing to cold without obvious injury. If Brandon kept walking after the call ended, he could have collapsed in an area so remote or concealed that he remains hidden to this day. Animal attack. While less likely, some propose that a wild animal could have attacked Brandon. Minnesota has coyotes, foxes, and even mountain lions in isolated regions. Yet most animal attacks leave evidence: torn clothing, blood, or disturbed earth. No such signs were ever found. Foul play. Could someone driving those back roads have intercepted Brandon? Locals and truckers pass through at odd hours. An opportunistic abduction cannot be ruled out. though no suspicious activity was reported that night. The wrong lights. Theory. A particularly haunting theory suggests Brandon was not walking toward the lights of Lind at all. Farm security lights or even industrial yard lights could appear deceptively close in the dark. Brandon may have been unknowingly moving farther from help, and possibly toward hidden dangers like open pits, abandoned wells, or unknown threats. Each theory highlights how vulnerable Brandon was that night. Each leaves an uncomfortable void. No concrete answers, just possibilities. That last moment, Brandon's sharp exclamation, remains the case's defining mystery. Was it fear? Shock from a fall? Recognition of a sudden threat? Whatever caused it, it happened instantly. There were no sounds of a struggle, no attempts to explain, just a single outburst and then silence. His parents were so close, yet powerless. They lived the unimaginable horror of being within reach, but unable to save their son. In interviews, they described that final call as a wound that never fully heals. The sound of that last shout has haunted investigators too. It shifted Brandon's case from a simple missing person to something darker and far more tragic. In the aftermath of Brandon's disappearance, Brian and Annette Swanson dedicated themselves to changing the way missing adult cases are handled. At the time, many police departments waited up to 24 hours before beginning searches for missing adults. This delay cost valuable time, and possibly lives. Through their efforts, Minnesota passed Brandon's Law in 2009. The law requires immediate investigation whenever an adult goes missing under suspicious circumstances, regardless of age or perceived intent. Today, Brandon's Law stands as a model for other states. It ensures that families are heard immediately and that crucial early hours are never wasted. Brandon's disappearance also shifted public understanding. It taught communities that even responsible adults could vanish unexpectedly, and that every missing person deserves urgent attention. Each May, the Swanson family holds a candlelight vigil. They gather not just to mourn Brandon's loss, but to celebrate his impact. Because of him, other families have found answers faster. Because of him, countless searches began when minutes still mattered. Brandon's story endures. A symbol of unanswered questions, of a voice lost in the darkness, and of a family that refused to let silence have the final word. Somewhere beyond those empty Minnesota roads, Brandon's story is still waiting to be told. Completely.